Coming up on the premiere edition of Power and Politics, Maine and Colorado say no to Donald Trump, but will their decision to keep him off the primary ballot stick? And the Iowa caucuses are fast approaching. Where do the candidates stand as we get ready to kick off the 2024 presidential sweepstakes? Hello and welcome to another edition of Power and Politics. I'm your host, Frank Cipolla. Power and Politics is a weekly, unbiased look at the top stories affecting the state of Florida, with a special emphasis on the thinking behind the decisions that affect our lives. As this is the premiere show, we want to say hello to our viewers watching throughout Florida, including stations in Orlando, Miami, Tampa, Gainesville, Jacksonville, Tallahassee, Panama City, and Pensacola. If you want to join the conversation, we invite you to email us at info@powerandpolitics.tv. I am joined today, as I am every week, by my co-host, Emmy Award-winning clinical and political psychologist, Dr. Bart Rossi. Doctor, welcome.
Great to be here, Frank.
Well, as you know, the 2024 is a pivotal year with the presidential election front and center, and it looks like the U.S. Supreme Court will eventually have to decide if former President Donald Trump remains on the primary ballot in Maine and Colorado, after decisions in both states to take his name off the ballot. So what does that do to the race? That is the first question for you, Dr. Rossi.
Well, Frank, first off, this is a big question, and I think it's a bigger question than a lot of people realize. Because will the candidates, and this is the psychology, okay, will the psychology work for these candidates? In the sense that, are they going to stay in the race just because Donald Trump may drop out or not be a candidate? So I think that this is going in a particular direction where some of these people, DeSantis and Haley, they may stay in the race longer than they want to.
Just to see where it goes.
Yes.
What states do you think might be next, and how will this all shake out?
Actually, to that question, Frank, I don't think it matters anymore. I don't think another state makes much difference because it's going to the Supreme Court.
You're certain of that?
Well, I think so because...
You're a psychologist, not an attorney, but you're certain of that.
The thinking here has to be that the Supreme Court makes a decision, because if it's left just to the states to decide, it's just too much. It's too chaotic.
See, I am in the group that says that the U.S. Supreme Court will not take the case.
How do you figure that?
It'll let the state. Well, I asked the questions, you answered them, but I'm just saying I don't think it'll handle it. I just think that it'll let the states take care of it by themselves, and. Because otherwise they'd have to be strict constitutionalists and say yes.
I really think that would be chaos. I really do.
You think the U.S. Supreme Court will decide somewhere before the Iowa caucuses, or maybe as we go on?
Sometime soon. I don't think that soon, not by the 15th. But I think the real question here in the psychology that prevails is, what is the thinking at the Supreme Court? Because we have 6 justices, okay, who are conservative. And they have said for years that they are strict constructionists. They believe in what's written in the Constitution. Mm-hmm. How do they get around what's written in this 14th Amendment? That's a hard call for them to get around it.
Which supports my theory that they will not tackle it. One of us is going to be right.
Well, let me just say this. Also, the 3 more liberal judges, okay, they may be thinking that they want voters to decide also. Mm-hmm. However, they're going to be hearing from the Federalist Society that's bringing this case, a conservative group, that the Constitution is written in a certain way, and that's the way it should be. So all 9 judges in this case are going to be pressured, and they're going to have, in my view, high anxiety.
Okay, there was a movie years ago.
That's what I think.
All right, we have the Iowa caucuses coming up in a few days. How do you see those shaking out?
I think the big question there is DeSantis. The governor has to make a really good showing in Iowa. He's been to 99 counties, all of them, and he spent almost $160 million so far. If he doesn't do well in Iowa, then I think it's curtains for the governor.
You don't think he'll stick around for New Hampshire, maybe South Carolina?
Well, he may want to stick around only because of what we just discussed with the Supreme Court and their decision on Trump being a candidate. That could be a factor.
All right, time for one of our regular segments, a commentary from Dr. Bart Rossi. We call, appropriately, the Rossi Rant.
And Frank, today I'd like to start off, if I may, with an analogy, okay? I happen to be a Steely Dan fan. They call me a Dan fan, okay? what's happening is really very interesting. The music is coming back. It might be the biggest comeback in the history of music, according to some experts, okay? And the reason is because it's a combination of jazz and rock and funk, okay? And now people are realizing that this is timeless, maybe even more appropriate today than ever before. And I think that the traits and characteristics of a winning personality, even though we may not see a lot of it now, I think they're most important. And first off, I'd like to say that if we're going to be talking about a winning personality, somebody has to be comfortable in who they are, comfortable in their own skin. They can't fake it to make it. They've got to be who they are. If they're a little more introverted, extroverted, they have to be that person, okay? A lot of people today as politicians, they're trying to be somebody else. It usually doesn't work. The second trait that I really like, and I always mention, is that they can't be a flip-flopper. In real life or in politics, you can't be changing your mind every day, saying you're one way on an issue and then another way. You can't do it. So you have to be consistent. And I think a lot of former presidents who are consistent do quite well. And the third trait that I think is really especially important is that you have to try to reach out to everyone, all groups of people. And Ronald Reagan, of course, was great at that. They called him the great communicator because he talked to people even though he knew he may not really agree with them. And finally, and most important, you need to be a good listener. You have to project that you are a good listener. Not only that you are a good listener, but that people will understand that you will listen to them.
Well, you know, you surprised me. I didn't expect Steely Dan, and I don't think I've ever heard you say the word funk. So
Timeless. Timeless is important here.
all right, thank you, Doctor. Coming up, the psychology of Donald Trump and his attraction to a loyal voter base. And a new law is making many local politicians give up public service. That and more when Power and Politics continues.
Getting the word out about your business takes marketing. And while any business person can place an ad online or elsewhere, being interviewed by your local TV or radio reporter or anchor instantly brands you the expert. Contacts Media was founded by an on-air news veteran of 40 years who worked in the nation's #1 media market. He and his team have the knowledge and contacts to get you booked locally and in other major markets. For more information, visit Contacts Media today at contactsmedia.com.
Need a marketing agency to help you take care of business? Visit Quinzel.com. Our clients get more customers.
Welcome back to the premier edition of Power and Politics. I'm Frank Cipolla, joined by my co-host, political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi. And Doctor, you just discussed a moment ago before the commercial break, a winning personality.
Right.
We have seen Donald Trump in his very loyal fan base. He's been in trouble with the law. He has done some things that wouldn't exactly fit into the box of a normal politician, but he remains popular. How do you explain that?
Well, my explanation is that Donald J. Trump wants to be the authoritarian personality. And sometimes the more abrasive a person is, the more contentious, the more difficult they are in terms of how they present themselves, the more desirable they become to some people who really want a boss.
And we've had this discussion.
Okay.
We've had this discussion. You're the psychologist. For our viewers all around the state, get into the mind of that voter who would like that, quote unquote, as you indicated a moment ago, boss.
The voter is thinking, I may want to push back against those liberals, some of those minority groups that get all this attention. I don't really like the tax system. I don't like much about the way the country's going. So I want a tough guy, I want a boss, I want the authoritarian personality, someone who really is the boss, and that's Donald J. Trump.
And I have noticed as the rhetoric has gotten more inflammatory, his support seems to be growing. Again, you're the psychologist. Explain that.
Well, people have a certain mindset, a frame of reference, okay? We all have that. And I think that with some folks, especially in his base, They want somebody like the boss who's going to reach out and have all of their goals met. That's what I think.
All right, you know, there's a new law in Florida, I don't know if you've heard this or not, that local politicians need to report their financial state. Some call it an invasion of privacy. Others are just leaving public service because they simply do not want their neighbors to know that they're making too much money, not enough money, or maybe there's some sort of something they're hiding. And I'm not insinuating that that's the case. But even in these small towns and cities, commissioners, council people, even mayors are saying, I don't want to reveal to my neighbors that, you know, I went bankrupt in 2007. I got an inheritance of $1 million.
Correct.
And your thoughts on this new law, because we're seeing this again and again, and I've read it throughout the state where politicians on the local level are just saying, this is too much, I'm out of here.
Yeah, first off, what strikes me about this law is that we have politicians across the spectrum, okay, who always say we need less government. But now they're putting in more government to make it difficult for people to even go on the city council. I don't like this law at all. I think as a psychologist, it's very objectionable because there's got to be a line, a demarcation between running for Congress, running for the Senate, the U.S. Senate, and running for the presidency. That's different. You're going for the whole nation in that sense. This is a local job that you're seeking to try to make a difference in a community. People want to do something positive, and now they're penalized, and maybe they don't want to show what their tax returns are all about. In this case, I believe that's correct, and maybe what companies they're invested in. Suppose they're invested in Disney, for example. Down here, that's in Florida, all over Florida, that's a controversy now. So I don't think it's a good law at all.
Do you think it discourages John Q. Public from saying, I would like to run for city council because I think I could make a difference? And will that lower the standard of the people getting into politics because they don't have a problem reporting their finances?
Well, that could be, but I think less people are likely to go into government. Less people will serve, will want to serve. And how does that help a democracy? We want it to go the other way, where we want more people to serve and more people to present their point of view and get more diversity in all of our political process.
And I think, I'm going to make a prediction now on this first premier show of Power and Politics. I think that law will be rescinded somewhere down the line.
I think you're correct on that.
All right. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, the always popular segment we call Sunshine or Showers, when we find out who was basking in the sunshine this week in Florida and who got caught in the rain, when Power and Politics continues.
Experience an unforgettable Everglades adventure with Captain Jack's Total Everglades Combo Package. Begin with a thrilling airboat ride through twisting mangrove tunnels in Everglades City. Next, continue your airboat experience at Wooten's private 259-acre reserve. Get your adrenaline pumping as you glide through wide-open glades. Take a swamp buggy tour through grasslands, a cypress forest, and manatee pond. Learn about Everglades folklore and history as you try to spot wild alligators, birds, and other animals. Watch a live alligator show with a professional handler and hold your own baby alligator. See alligators, tigers, lions, otters, and other rescued animals in our sanctuary. Enjoy refreshments in our gift shop and take a piece of the Everglades home with you. Captain Jack's is fun for people of all ages and is open 365 days a year.
Welcome back to Power and Politics. As you know, the weather can be fickle in Florida, so every week we span the great state to find out who or what enjoyed some sunshine and who needed an umbrella. It's time now for the very popular segment, Sunshine or Showers. We start with you, Dr. Bart. Who is in the sunshine this week?
This week I have the Daytona 500 Raceway for a different reason now. They made it into a food bank during the holiday season, served many, many meals and gave out food to needy people. And I think that all of the people who work in the food banks across the state, across the country, deserve our credit, really. They're heroes in my estimation, and I don't think they're appreciated enough. But I bring it up also because I wonder if this is really who we should be as a country. I mean, do we really need food banks? It's a question maybe for another day. but I really want to salute those folks who did a great job in the Daytona Speedway.
And they are in the sunshine.
They're in the sunshine.
All right, sunshine for me now. I don't know if you're familiar with the Travel Lemmings prestigious top 50 travel destinations.
Not so much. Go ahead.
I'm sure you have the books
Okay.
at home. And so, Jacksonville. Jacksonville is in the sunshine this week for me because out of all the states in the world, it is the only state in Florida to make that list. It's number 29 as a Travel Lemmings popular destination. It's got a new mayor. It's doing some work along the waterfront. It's got a lot of stuff going on. It's the only state in Florida. And we have, as you know, Miami and Orlando. We have Naples, which is beautiful. But Jacksonville, Florida, made that list. So they, at least as far as I am concerned, are in the sunshine this week.
Good. And
All right.
And who do you have for the showers?
Well,
then?
you know, with sunshine, there's always showers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Florida, the weather
Yeah.
changes on a
right.
dime. I'm going to put the Tampa Bay Rays baseball team
why
in
not?
the showers. Now, you played semi-pro baseball.
I did.
We're big baseball fans, you and I, so there's no argument that we
Okay.
don't like baseball. I have a problem, though, when they start talking about building a new stadium, and it's only 30-some-odd years old. And I don't mind them building a new stadium. This is the environment in which we live. Everything is what's bigger, better, and so on. But in this particular case, the Tampa Bay Rays, the baseball team in Tampa, is spending $1.3 billion with a B to build a new stadium and saying to the taxpayers of Tampa, you're picking up almost half of it. You're going to pick up $600 million of that. Now, the argument is always the same. You know it, Doctor. Yes, it's going to revitalize the area around the stadium. People will hang out after the game. They'll go for a drink. They'll have some. It never happens. They try that in New York with Yankee Stadium. They built a brand new Yankee Stadium. Nobody hangs out after the game. They just get in a car and they drive home. They tried that in Cincinnati. They actually lost money because nobody hung out after that. I just have a problem when these really wealthy professional teams owners say, you know what, we're going to build something really big. And what do you have for us, taxpayers?
and
I
you
have
know-
an issue with that.
And the team, the franchise, is worth billions
That's
of
right.
dollars.
It's not like you can't borrow the money, or whoever owns the team can't
Billions.
borrow the money and
Yeah.
say, you know, we'll pay it off in 30, 40 years. They go to the taxpayer and they say, we want $600 million from you.
Something-
I have a problem with that.
Something wrong with this playing field.
They're in the showers.
Okay.
I think the
Okay.
stadium has a roof, so they're not really in the showers, but they are in the
I
showers.
agree.
Okay. Your turn now. Who is in the showers?
I'm putting the Florida legislature in the showers because of the new law that we were just speaking about. Because I think it's an invasion of privacy. Want to serve on a local council seat, and you have to reveal everything about your finances. There's got to be a line of demarcation, as we said before, between running for a local office and Congress, U.S. Senate, the presidency. There's got to be some differential here. And I think it's a law that makes very little sense. I believe it's really against democracy. It means that people will not want to serve in local government. And we should be going the other way, not in this direction.
So the local politician should not be able to fill out a financial disclosure form and let everybody in his community, and it might be a really small city, know how much he or she makes or how much he or she
maybe
doesn't
some,
have.
Maybe some simple questions like, I mean, are you faced with bankruptcy? Do you have any lawsuits against you that might lead to financial ruin or something like that? Basic questions, but personal stuff I think should be limited, and I just think it's a bad law.
So the whole legislature's in the showers.
Well, for this law,
Even though
yes.
they meet indoors, so it's really, well, they're in the showers.
putting them in
We
the
just
shower.
talked about it a
Yeah.
moment ago. Okay, thank you, Doctor. Okay, it's time for a break. When we return, a commentary by yours truly titled, Let's Be Frank, when Power and Politics continue.
Getting the word out about your business takes marketing. And while any business person can place an ad online or elsewhere, being interviewed by your local TV or radio reporter or anchor instantly brands you the expert. Contacts Media was founded by an on-air news veteran of 40 years who worked in the nation's #1 media market. He and his team have the knowledge and contacts to get you booked locally and in other major markets. For more information, visit Contacts Media today at contactsmedia.com.
Need a marketing agency to help you take care of business? Visit quinzel.com. Our clients get more customers.
Welcome back to Power and Politics. I would be remiss if I did not mention that this weekend is the third anniversary of the violence we saw at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. Some call it an insurrection, others a false flag attack, and others still a friendly tour that went haywire. There is nothing I can say to change the minds of those who believe what they want to believe. However, I have another name for it. I call it an embarrassment. There is a reason nations around the world look to the United States for guidance. Whether we like it or not, we are, as Ronald Reagan said, a shining city on the hill. So when we see the kind of violence in the United States we saw that day, it sends a message to countries around the world that that kind of conduct is acceptable. It's no coincidence that 2 years after the violence at the Capitol, the same thing happened in Brazil, when election results showed the defeat of its president. Like a big brother, nations large and small look to us for direction. But this is more than just a review of January 6th. This is a plea for all of us in 2024 to start treating each other with respect. I have a friend who disagrees with me on everything, and that's okay. We still talk, laugh, and talk some more. I don't have to always be right, and neither does she, and it doesn't always mean it has to be a fight to the death. No one in this world agrees with you on everything. People are different. This is the essence and beauty of humanity. So as we head into what could be a contentious election year, let us all resolve in 2024 to be more civil to each other, to accept things we cannot change, to love each other for who we are, and not to perceive everyone as the enemy.
Experience an unforgettable Everglades adventure with Captain Jack's Total Everglades Combo Package. Begin with a thrilling airboat ride through twisting mangrove tunnels in Everglades City. Next, continue your airboat experience at Wooten's private 259-acre reserve. Get your adrenaline pumping as you glide through wide-open glades. Take a swamp buggy tour through grasslands, a cypress forest, and manatee pond. Learn about Everglades folklore and history as you try to spot wild alligators, birds, and other animals. Watch a live alligator show with a professional handler and hold your own baby alligator. See alligators, tigers, lions, otters, and other rescued animals in our sanctuary. Enjoy refreshments in our gift shop and take a piece of the Everglades home with you. Captain Jack's is fun for people of all ages and is open 365 days a year.
That's it for this week's edition of Power and Politics. On behalf of my co-host, political psychologist Dr. Bart Rossi, and all the fine folks working behind the scenes, thanks for joining us. As always, we'd like to know what you think. Visit us at powerandpolitics.tv or email us at info@powerandpolitics.tv. See you next time.